Welcome back to the channel of truth, trust, and transparency. Today we have another deal review in store for you guys. We're heading down to Victoria for a question that was posted on our YouTube channel, or on my YouTube channel, I should say. This person said it's a very hot deal. I know they know there's plenty of investors and buyers agents looking at it. So let's dive straight into it, shall we? And see what we can uncover, if there's anything. If you're finding the deal reviews to be useful, I would appreciate it if you did subscribe so we can send more. And if you've got another one, hit me up on Instagram or on YouTube comments for any questions or any deals you want reviewed, and we can go from there. Okay, so the first thing that we usually do with these sorts of deal reviews, and as always, guys, these are a broad, quick 10-15 minutes. It's not spending 2-3 hours or whatever looking into it. So it's just high level, trying to see if there's anything obviously blaring that is wrong with this particular deal that I can, save you before you spend your time, effort, and money on. But this particular deal is located in Grovedale, Victoria, 3216. Typical price of about $710,000. In the last 6 months, it's grown 1.97%. In the last year, 3.4%. In the last 3 years, it's actually went backwards 3% in value. Over the last 5 years, 23%. 10 years, 84%. So let's dive a little deeper into Grovedale to see what the data says. And remember, guys, I always try to keep these as non-biased as possible. Whether you do or you don't buy any of the deals that I review, it doesn't affect me whatsoever. So I don't really have any bias or anywhere I need to force you to do or buy. So let's look into it. As we said, there's a nice $120,000 discrepancy between 3 and 4 bedrooms. Something important to note. It's got really good low risk score and capital growth score. Decent dwelling and population sizes, which is always important for market volatility. Typical prices rised. Median rent has rised. Something's happened around here the last couple of years. If I go into the growth rate cycle, that's would be, where I've also seen this. Fairly interesting market. Quite a fair few fluctuations, and is coming off quite a correction in price growth over the last sort of couple of years, which is something to monitor. Let's see if we can't see and find a reason why that would have happened. Overall, not a terrible performer. There's obviously quite a few good years of above sort of that 5-6% growth, and some below. But, we've had that. If we look at it before COVID-19, this has had a really good run through COVID and has dropped off and corrected. But sort of if you put a line in the sand prior to 2019, it's probably averaged that sort of, 5-6%. 5 URSAD, which is, as we know and as you guys would know, is smack bang in the middle in terms of the type of people that live there. 26 rented to owner ratio as well, which is probably typical for 5 URSAD. I'm not seeing any issues there in terms of the rented to owner ratio or the URSAD. So play on, the referee says there is some demand for 4-bedroom houses, which is great. Obviously with 3-bedroom having the most demand profile. Now, the affordability is at 35 years to own. So that would be one thing we need to potentially have a think about when we look for reasons why this particular area would grow in price. Now, we can see it has been like this as well for the last 3-4 years. Now, if we go back to since about 2022 to 2023, it has been at this rate. So if we go back to the growth chart and I say, look at 2022 to 2023, what's going to happen into prices when it has been this unaffordable? Interesting. Now, stock on market is decreasing. We're down at probably about, stock on, from here I can say stock on market has halved over the last 5 years. Inventory as well has somewhat of decreased. Building approvals, couple increases there I need to keep my eye on. Vacancy rates. Now, vacancy rates are at about, always look at the number of vacancy rates. I think people get scared off by the percentage, but for me, 15 vacancies, which is 2.48%, but 15 vacancies in an area that has 7,000 dwellings, not seeing a huge issue there. Days on market seems to be dropping off lately, which, if the sentiment and that this particular person knows is a area that is popular with buyers agents, that would make sense that the days on market has dropped off. So here, I'm not seeing huge demand pressure for this area. Would you agree? What's interesting is that the trend over the last 4 months is showing that this particular market, and from early on this year, this is the 4th of this year, that is the 6th of this year, there is some very, very short-term indications that vacancy rates plummeting, days on market is also plummeting. So this is something that I would continue and be very interested about watching what the data does for the rest of this year, because days on market plummeting, vacancy rate plummeting in the short term. Now, long term, obviously it's warning signs, but something to have a look at, I think. Hold period as well, 10 years. So people love to buy and hold here. Stock on market, there's not much stock on market. So this is the thing. If I was to summarize this just quickly, short term, there seems to be some sort of actions in this market. I would need to see a little bit more, how would I say this? I would need to see a lot more confidence in terms of the capital growth and what's happening here, paired with the affordability. If I was going to personally invest, okay, that's what I would need to see. I would need to see the data start to, grow over the next couple of months. We're in 2025 here at sort of 2.8%. What's going to make that continue to grow? Well, if we have these two things kick over the next 2-3 months, this is one I'd put on my watch list. Now let's dive into the asset in particular. And for those of you playing along at home, the address is 34 Peter Street, Grovedale. So we are just south of the city of Geelong, not terribly, but we're in Grovedale, where it sits in its local community. We've also got this new highway coming in. We've got a couple of main arterial roads to connect me to shopping centres and industrial hub. I think it's located in a great proximity to both of those and those arterial roads, in the sense that I'm not going to get hit with any noise or anything like that. We've got recreation at the end of the street, which is cool. Got a little strip mall, shops there, which is great. Health centre. I've reviewed a couple of deals in this particular area in close proximity in terms of like an aerial view. We're probably far enough away from that roundabout for it to worry us. I don't appear to see any sort of schools or any issues around traffic. Obviously coming down and onto the main road, but the way this sort of grid is set out is that people can use Hyers, people can use Peter Street, people can use Felix, or people can jump on there. So it's not as if Peter Street is the one road that everyone's going to be clambering in on. Neighbours and all that kind of stuff looks fine too, which is cool. From a street level perspective, it is unfortunately on the sunken side of the street, because most streets, guys, will either be flat on both sides or they'll have sort of a sunken side and typically a higher side. Sometimes the higher side is better because of drainage and that kind of stuff. However, here, when I'm thinking about rain and flooding, I can see a path for that to be heading, diagonally across towards that back corner and into the mall. Looks like it's had some sort of glow up and renovation, which is cool. The road's seen more crack than your local junkie, but it doesn't look too bad if I look at a few more dates. So it does look quite similar in 2018 compared to the most latest version, which is 2022. Again, I wouldn't be relying on this because 2022 is, 3 years ago. So either you want to get on the ground or get someone that can be on the ground for you to double check this. But, all their renovation and stuff has obviously been there for quite a while and stood the test of time. Let's look at the listing, shall we? Agents love a little bit of Photoshop, but I can see it's got relatively new aircon here, which is cool. From the street, there you go, the unedited version. I don't know what's the point of that then, but play on. Not much wrong with it. This has obviously had a new renovation, which is great. Need to be careful with those, but what I can see is it's got aircon, it's got some sort of underfloor heating system. No real issues through there. Dining room is quite large, well sized. Kids room, cool. Dog's been scratching at the door. Looks like fresh carpet, so it's hard to sort of comment. Even with these particular, see in this little detail here, this is the family's writing their heights on the door frame. So it tells me it was maybe lived in for a long time with a nice family there. Kitchen is clean, spotless. This is what you need. Strong, hard, sturdy. Great for investors. No issues there. Again, no issues with the bedrooms. Can see that one simple thing as well, guys. I can see this has got one of the old GPOs on it. You can pay an electrician to come in here and just change those faceplates. They're not going to be the pop-out ones like you do see on the new GPOs, but you can get them to bring that out of the wall and change that. It's pretty easy to do as well. Other bedroom, not bad. Looks all decent sized. Bathroom, tick, separate shower and laundry. It's great. And this is why families live here. Swing set. This is huge owner-occupier appeal, or for a young family, I don't think you'd have, in my personal opinion, any issues renting this out, nor would you need to do any work to get this up to scratch. Big deck, entertainment, family swing set, good visibility. Play on. Looks good. Looks tidy. Not too bad, not too shabby. Neighbours don't look too bad either on either side. Referee says play on. All right, this is the floor plan, which is what we noticed. Had the 2 entries. Yep. Lounge room and living dining. So you could even open up a few of these walls to get that floor space. But, apart from one smaller bedroom, these 2 are sufficient size. You got a separate bathroom and toilet, which is cool. Great. Play on. So next level, I just went to see, and I've turned on here the topography, and as we sort of could see, it's going from top left to bottom right, so flooding and all that kind of stuff, not particularly an issue. It's all zoned the same, not bushfire prone, no flooding issues, no real overlay dangers. From what I can see, it's also just in this little area here. And again, no public housing concentrations. If you zoom out in Geelong, you would see where the worst issues are. Obviously, these pockets here where it's 20 to 30%, but in here, not bad. Even the one it borders on is 16%. So pretty good from that perspective. Because we're looking on Peter Street, I'm just looking at what sold in the last 12 months. last 12 months houses. Now, obviously, it's very hard for me to do these deal reviews and tell you what you should pay. What you should be doing is watching that market for a few months, seeing how quick things sell, who's selling it, get your agent profiles and that established. But if I'm looking here, this was actually next door, sold for $555. There was no internal photos, which I think would be a bit of a worry and tell you there's a bit of a story you need to chat to the agent about regarding why that is. But for the rest of the street, I'm seeing a lot in the sixes, albeit the 3-4 bedrooms, but 3 bedrooms, there's a lot sort of in the close proximity in around the 5s and 6s. 580 is pretty cheap. So it tells me high level, I'm not seeing any huge dramas, regarding the price. I think it looks like it could be pretty fair. You tell me if you've been looking at this for long enough. Another cool thing too was the rental demand. So I always say to people as well, speak to the local property managers to get an understanding for what you need or what their thoughts are on the property. Build that relationship with them. When I look at this, I think personally the house is set, ready to go. No issues, I think, renting that out. When I look around, this area, there's not a heap of demand or properties for sale. Properties for rent. There is one corner block here for $475, but it doesn't present anywhere near the as good as that one. You've got other ones like this, which old and dated inside. This one is $485. Let's have a look inside. Yeah, so they're all old and sort of dated. So it'd be really interesting to see, and if you can pick that up for, say, just going to do some numbers here, but if you pick that up for say $625, and you can rent that at maybe $550 a week, you're looking at about a 4.5% yield, which is not bad for Victoria. To summarise, there are no, in my opinion, immediate red flags. Just from a quick deal review, it's pretty stock standard. It's got a heap of owner-occupier appeal. With these particular renovations as well, always still get the building and pest inspection because you never know what people are trying to cover up when they're doing the renovation. So because that house was located on a slope as well, can make sure that building inspector gets in and looks underneath the house to see what the foundations and that kind of stuff is like. But it does look like a fairly decent stock standard investment. Rented out, ready to go, plenty of owner-occupier appeal, and you probably get a family in there that would do a lot of time in there renting because it's cozy, it's got the deck outside, they can picture themselves living there. The one thing that sort of bothers me is a little bit around the data side, so potentially watching the market for a few more months. I mean, or you tell me if you've been watching it for, or how long you've been watching it for, but, short term there are some, early signs of demand for this particular suburb. I just would want to see that reflect in the growth over the next couple of months and that demand continue because 35 years to own is getting quite high in terms of affordability, but I'd need to see those next few months of data and then. But yeah, not a bad deal, and I have definitely had worse on this channel. Let me know your thoughts, opinions in the comments. If you have a deal you want me to do a quick review on and give you my thoughts, DM me on Instagram, send it through, and we can go from there. As always, guys, I will talk to you tomorrow.